Good Monday morning. Let me start with this. It is Monday, March 4th. It's my brother Craig's birthday. Happy birthday, big brother. I hope you have something fun planned. I'll give you a shout a little bit later and tell you how much I love you. Anybody else who has a birthday today on this March 4th? It's your day, and make sure that you find some way to happiness. Boy, we've got a wonderful show on tap for you today. I'm going to be recapping what I have to believe is one of the most spiritual awakenings I have ever seen from a group of women who walked in on Friday afternoon. Only a couple people knew each other, and by the time they left on Sunday, some amazing friendships were formed, long-time friendships, and really moving through people, moving so many emotions from all-out laughter to ugly cries, meaning you're letting go of so much pain from the past and seeing the possibilities in you. We did some vision setting. We did a rundown of what knowing your value, the triangle of life means. We had some yoga. We did forest bathing. What is that? I'll be telling you more about that. Finally learned how to do pickleball, and the woman who taught that was just incredible. I picked up some new clients and life coaching clients as well. Sold a bunch of merchandise so that people could rep what they now love in this positivity. And I have a feeling you're going to have a whole group that's from that retreat that's going to join this community here of the Real Monica Adams Show. I told them they're going to love everybody that tunes in. So I hope you're having a great start. Michelle was talking about how beautiful the sunrise was. Enjoy all those little things. Enjoy the fact that we're warm this morning. We're in the 60s. It's a little windy, but not anywhere near like yesterday. And unfortunately, I think we have more wind gusts that are going to take place this afternoon, as well as maybe some severe weather. So with that, let's bring on our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, with our What the Weather segment. First of all, good morning, Beckett.
Good morning, Monica. How was your weekend?
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I could sit here and talk to you for hours about what it meant. And some young kids actually that came over while we were doing yoga, and we were seeing play out them looking at role models, them looking at what they'll be one day, and then us with the transfer of energy back to them thinking that was us just playing around on the playground however many years ago. But it was like incredible to connect together. So yes, it was great. Thanks for asking. What about you? Did you enjoy the weather?
Yes, it was very nice. It was very nice.
Did you get to the park like you were going to?
Yes, we did.
Oh, good. I love that. So yes, we're wondering, are we going to have anything more like that? Are we going to get warm again? And those wind gusts, how much were the wind gusts yesterday?
I think we got up to 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts at times, so it was definitely very breezy out there.
And do we have more of that today?
Not as extreme, but there will be some wind gusts around today, yes.
Okay, so the sunrise again was really pretty, and we're wondering, is it going to be as warm? Are we going to maybe hit a record high? And then what's going on with the weather that's going to change later this evening? So let's go through all that. Again, this is Beckett Moore.
Yes, so today we do have a marginal risk for severe weather. This is for that severe weather threat late tonight into early tomorrow morning. This is a 1 out of 5, so not a huge risk, nothing to be too worried about, but still something to watch. And in my opinion, a bigger risk instead of the one we had last week. Now, if we look at our severe risk timeline, you can clearly see this will be through the nighttime hours. That's why you want to have a way to get warnings. Now, this is a marginal risk, so these will be isolated severe storms. Not all of these storms are going to be severe, but those severe storms could go over your location, so you want to be prepared. Into 6 to 8 p.m., there's a low chance. This is going to be moving from the northwest to the southeast, so maybe through 6 to 8, up to 8 to 10, that's when we'll probably see that, maybe up towards Pike counties, up toward Hannibal, Quincy, into Bowling Green and Troy as well. But then as we get into 10 to 12 and then 12 to 2, that's where it gets to moderate. That's when it's going to be coming into the St. Louis area, and that's when we're probably going to be seeing those thunderstorms and a couple severe thunderstorms. So you want to be prepared for that. Have a way to get warnings for that. Now, our severe potential, we do not have a tornado risk or a flooding risk, which is a very good thing, but we do have a low damaging wind threat and a low hail threat, which means isolated storms could have those on them. So make sure you are on guard tonight for that and you are prepared for that. Now, our 7-day outlook today, we got a high of 77 with a low of 58, with those thunderstorms again tonight. As we go into tomorrow, we drop down as that cold front comes through to 63 degrees and cloudy with a low of 45. Wednesday, 60 degrees, again a low of 45. And as we get into Thursday, rainy. Friday, rainy with highs in the low 60s. So it is going to be a 2 rainy days for sure. Thursday, probably just a couple showers. Friday, we're probably going to get more rain throughout the day. And then to Saturday, the rain will be tapering off. A couple showers in the morning, but then by the evening, I think it'll be all wrapped up with a high around 50. That cold front really comes through. And then as we turn the clocks forward, as we spring forward on Sunday, it will be nice and sunny, but we will be cool as that cold front comes through Friday night.
You know, we were talking last week, a group of friends, and they were saying, what are the normal highs for right now? Because we've been talking about just how amazing the temperatures have been. Typically, for us to be March 4th, the beginning of March, what would the weather normally be?
Usually in the 50s, maybe upper 40s for our highs.
So what our lows are?
What our lows are this time of the year, in the 30s, probably lower 40s. So
right,
we're
so
definitely
we are very
warmer
blessed.
than that.
Yeah, the lows that we're seeing right now are typical highs. So,
Yes.
okay, I can see that you have a 3/4 zip. He's got the more weather, so you can always follow Beckett on YouTube as well as on X. Do you have more weather umbrellas?
No, but that's a good idea. I should get those.
I know. Let's do this together, Beckett.
Yeah.
Let's do the what the weather with more weather on those umbrellas. Look into that, and I can guarantee you that my community would buy those from you.
Definitely, for sure.
All right, Beckett. So 77, if we go above that and we hit 80, then we would break the record. I think I heard that the record was 79, right?
Yes, I think so.
Back in the 70s. All right, well, let's
So
let's
if
try
we
for
get
that.
to 80, yeah, well, let's see.
Okay, so again, just be weather aware, a marginal risk, as Beckett was saying. So we'll find out tomorrow if that affected any of you. Beckett, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well. That is Beckett Moore, our aspiring meteorologist that's been with us for the last few months. And it's the What the Weather segment. I know a lot of you love him, and rightfully so. He does a phenomenal job. Let me say good morning to some of you. Kathleen Morris is on, Sean Fitzgerald. Hi, Linda Eckert and Kathy Holding Reed. We also have Carrie Samuelson. Leona said she's back from Florida, loves being back home, appreciate coming home to Florida temperatures here in Missouri. Yes, I think you brought them back with you. Have to go to work. Have a great day. All right. Come back to us when you get home. That's one of the things I talked about with a lot of the people this past weekend at the retreat is that if you can't tune in live at 7 a.m., that's fine. You can come back to those shows in the afternoon, maybe on a break, take it in bits and pieces, maybe listen to 10, 15 minutes at a time, absorb what you need for that given moment, right? To have a little positivity in the break of your day and then finish it up in the evening. You can go back to March 1st of last year and take in the shows and the titles that really jump out to you that you feel you need at this very given moment. Good morning to Sarah, Kathy Anselmo, Diane. Thank you, Beckett. And good morning from Glen Carbon. Trisha Havera says, Trisha, are you newer to our show? If so, thank you so much. And be sure to share and like and subscribe. If you want to watch on YouTube, just subscribe. That way you'll get those notifications. So Sarah just said good morning from the road. As you know, Dr. Sarah Franco, as I mentioned last week and the last few days, not on with us today. She will be back with us next Monday with her part of the Medical Monday Ask the Doctor segment. We will have Dr. Charles Willey coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. He, of course, is with Innovare Health Advocates. And the topic he wanted to talk about today is the corporatization of medicine causing unhappy, burned out physicians. But it's also the reason, a lot of times we have to look at the hard part of life for us to think, what can we do with it? How can we make a difference? Well, that is really the reason why he formed Essence Healthcare and then started Innovare Health Advocates, because he wanted his patients to not feel like they were just a number rushed through. A lot of the things I was researching last night had to do with where doctors feel like they have to be because of government control, because of private party practices and companies that are taking over and pretty much just telling them rush, rush, rush through. So we'll talk about all that for you throughout the morning. But I didn't want to do that before I went through and talked about this amazing past weekend. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Stephanie. Everybody saying they had a great weekend and enjoyed the weather. Yes, the weather was amazing. So let me take you back to what happened at this retreat. So Sally Drake, I cannot tell you enough how much of a unbelievable rock star you are. Now, we say that a lot because of what she does. She has been a triathlete. I mean, this woman has done so many Ironman competitions, half Ironman, tons and tons of swimming events and running events and biking events events. And then she puts on these incredible endurance races, does the timing for different races. MSE, the multi-sports aspect of this for women, she put on a women's retreat. Why? Because she was looking for one that took place that had much more to do with not just yoga and a couple of different exercises here and there, but was the adventure side. So this is the view, by the way, from where we stayed at Innsbrook. That's what we looked out at in the morning and just took it all in. Now, this was the day we did forest bathing, something I had never heard of before. The woman who ran it, she was one of the many collaborators. Her name is Jess. So this was the one that took a lot of people out of their comfort zone. But let me also say it was the one that I think was the massive breakthrough for the weekend. We all came with the unknown of what the heck is forest bathing. One of the girls actually was pretty funny. She said, I thought I needed to bring my swimsuit to this. No swimsuit needed. We sat down on the grass and were grounded. Went back and appreciated what nature and what the forest gives us. We talked about what was there before us and who owned the land, right, all these years ago, and had that appreciation. We all came together in a circle and just started listening to the calming voice of Jess, what she took us through. She really made you center yourself, balance yourself, calm yourself. I mean, we were so blessed, obviously, on Saturday with 70-degree weather, taking it all in, the beautiful sky. And she did these invitations, meaning you're invited. It doesn't mean you have to do anything with it more than just sit there and absorb it. But if you want to say what you're feeling, let's do that. Okay. And I mentioned only a few people knew each other when they first came into this. We went around, people started to feel what they were seeing, what they were hearing, what they were smelling. We laid down, closed our eyes. And it was about a good 10, 15 minutes that we sat there just quiet. So are you able to sit in the stillness, or do you get nervous? Do you get anxious, like you need noise? That's when you know that you need to work on meditation or these type of things in nature. There's Jess, by the way, and that was how we wrapped it up. She gave us some unbelievable chamomile tea, and one of the glasses we poured back onto the earth to thank it for what it was giving us. Inside that little container were scrolls. And I tell you what, as we came back, she had us walk around and go to a different area than we had been before. Maybe we walk off onto the path of the trail to go find the waterfall. We came back, we all took a drink of that together, and everybody started sharing. After we were there for about an hour and a half together, and I'm going to tell you what, unbelievable emotions came out of what you felt. That's out there in our world. But it was the kindness, folks. I mean, we always talk, you turn the news on, and I did this morning, and I heard the beginning 3 stories having to do with shootings at a Quick Trip, shootings at a bowling alley, shootings with an off-duty officer. Negative, negative, negative. And then we sat there with people that were complete strangers, and we don't know what they're bringing to us. I saw some darkness in people that showed up on Friday, and that turned to a glowing, happy smile on Sunday, and allowing a hug in, a touch in, where before it was kind of standoff. I mean, look at, I feel like I'm glowing, no makeup on, a la natural. A lot of us were like that all weekend long. We brought all these extra clothes and never even changed out of it. We were together for 18 hours on Saturday, leaving in the morning. That was literally as we all first met. Of course, I know Sally on the left side, but the woman in the middle, Robin, we were just cracking up, having fun together. And this was in minutes of me walking in the door, just having fun. Nancy McConnell on the left side, she owns Le Champ de Flore, Stone Sioux Cottage, where we hold our retreat, she and I, and we bonded together. And trust me, you're going to see those 3 women together in future retreats. Look at that. That looks like a group of friends, right, that have known each other forever. And we literally were just meeting. When I walked into the home, I couldn't believe the energy that I already felt, the happiness I already felt, which felt like I was coming into a house of people that had known each other forever. Right there, we're looking at Kristen next to me, and then the woman who taught us pickleball, Lisa Frumhoff, she's known as the pickleball lady, and she picked it up back in 2018, 17 and 18, and just kept going and going and winning awards. She's an unbelievable source of spirituality and believing in herself. Now she said, Monica, I've got my 60th birthday coming up. I've got 12 weeks and I want to be in incredible shape. So now she's going to become one of my clients. I mean, so much happened from the weekend of connection of souls. You know, one of our promos says we need women to lift women up. Well, that's what took place. I met Lindsay and Lexi, these 2 sisters, and then their friends, Elle and Val and Jen were all there. Again, some of them were sisters, some of them were friends, but the majority of people that came together were women that didn't know each other. So if you've ever had an opportunity and you are told, hey, there's a retreat going on, you should go to this, and you say, I don't know if it's for me. We sat by the bonfire. This was the day and a half in. That evening, just laughing. And some people just kind of came together, just 2 or 3 people. Some, again, it depends on who you are. Are you more extroverted? Are you introverted? Do you feel left out? Do you feel connected? We sat by the bonfire, and then we got back together on Sunday. We had speaking engagements from some really amazing facilitators. We had yoga, which was wonderful because we started the day with a workout, which is what Sally and I are known for, right? Putting you through the hard personal training, and then yoga, which is so needed in our life to what? Balance us, to slow down, to center us, to stretch those muscles out that work so unbelievably hard. And the really cool thing is, almost every single person, I told you there was over 20 women, took part in that. There were just a couple that went back and took a nap and maybe did something on their own, but for the most part, what was offered to you, everybody wanted to take part in. You had the opportunity to turn that into whatever you wanted, but it was really neat to see the workout. Pretty full class on Saturday, going through the forest bathing. Again, the unknown thing. We didn't know what we were getting ready to go through. Going through the yoga, doing the speaking engagements, having breakfast together, lunch together. Again, look at that view. That is Innsbrook. We were on Aspen Shore Court, and I really want to go back there with my husband and a group of friends. I mean, how can you not be in a wonderful mood? I was telling somebody the other day in one of my life coaching classes as I was coming back yesterday afternoon, and I said, it's really easy when it's really cold out and you're traipsing through a ton of snow or a rain or ice or all, hail that we're talking about, tornadoes, to be fearful, to have anxiety. But look at what God can paint in the sky for us. How can you not have that unbelievable appreciation? Again, I want to thank Zach for putting these pictures. We had pictures and video from the entire weekend, just showing you what you missed out on. So we had been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. When you're offered an opportunity to look into a retreat, I hadn't been on a retreat myself, not having to run the whole thing in a long, long time. There's the win. And this is one of my favorite moments. Those 3 little girls were led over on their own to the stage. They all started to run away, I thought, but one of the girls near the back, she stayed with us and she was just connecting with us. I was waving to her, she waved back, we connected souls, and we all said what we thought that meant. It was such a priceless moment when they came over to us. And somebody said, you know what I felt? I felt that was how proud we were as women to look at that and say, they're looking at us as role models of health, right? That's them in future years. And then we transferred it back and looked at them and thought, that was us. That was our youth one day. You saw the beginning of that video with Sally running us through that first full body workout on Saturday morning. And the woman is just the epitome of health. So again, a role model to everybody else that was there looking through that. Again, we were showing people that maybe did workouts in the past and some that had never lifted a weight before. Didn't do right there. That's Nancy. She never, ever has done any type of resistance training and weight training because some women think, oh, I'm going to bulk up. There, as I mentioned, pickleball, learning pickleball for the very first time. So yes, when people looked at my pictures in the video from over the weekend and they said, oh my gosh, it looks like so much fun and it looked like such a beautiful place, it was. So Sally Drake, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for what truly is going to be one of the most powerful moments of my entire life. I cannot believe what took place. And if you were there, you understand. If you weren't, don't miss it in the future. Nancy and I are talking about having a retreat coming up in the summer and hopefully maybe another one in the fall at Le Champ de Flore. And then Sally Drake will be putting on more. In fact, in just a few weeks, she is putting on one for military women. And then she'll have another one at Camp Manitoba, I think, coming up in the fall. So follow MSE Racing and MSE Endurance and all of that and the special things that she does for women. Everybody that was there, love you and cannot wait to connect with you and continue those long friendships. Everybody else, let's see. It was very inspiring watching you guys, Rose says. Yeah, I mean, again, I want you to be there in the future, though. That is what would be best. Okay, it is 7:19. All I can say is I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope that yours was changed in a spiritual way in some way. If not, if you're waking up this morning, you're having a hard day, remember to pick your word. Mine, momentum. Why? Because I want to take the momentum from the weekend and keep it going in my life, keep the calm balance in my life, doing the things that I love more of, carving that out, doing the vision board settings, all those things to keep the momentum going. You pick your word, take it through you, allow that intention. My top of my triangle today had to do with mental, my second spiritual, and my third physical. You do you. You fill out your triangle and keep that momentum going. All right, it is Medical Monday and Ask the Doctor segment. So Dr. Charles Willey with Innovare Health Advocates talking today about the corporatization of medicine. Well, what does that even mean? We're going to break that down first, and we're going to see when did it start and why maybe it is the disconnect that you're seeing between you and your doctor, and maybe why you want to change because you don't want to be just run through as a number. It is 7:20, and we are in the Invita Health and Wellness Studios. So let's hear more about Invita Health and Wellness. Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online invitahealthandwellness.com. And welcome back. It is 7:21. Welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. Remember, if you're brand new to the show, let me know. If I met you this past weekend at the retreat, thank you. I'm hoping to see some of you on Facebook or on YouTube. Remember, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I also put us on Instagram and on X. Yes, Crystal just said, I'm definitely making the next one. Had total FOMO. It was very inspiring, though. Let's just say that. So we have to find our way to health. And I mentioned all weekend long, as I was in all the speaking engagements, how important it is that we play a role in our own health. What can we do? Be our own advocate. Listen to our bodies. And when we say something's wrong and all of these people are telling us no, even doctors are saying, no, you need this, you need that, and you don't feel that, maybe you have to look into another doctor. Okay, it's all about you making the choice. And we've mentioned this for months now. So we're going to bring in Dr. Charles Willey, who is behind Innovare Health Advocates, but he also is behind the beginning of Essence Healthcare. Why did he ever start that? Well, that's going to play a big role in what we talk about today. So first of all, welcome back from the Carolinas.
Thank you.
Are you well rested?
Yeah.
Yes? That's good. We need that balance. 5 days there, right?
Yeah. I don't have a day job there, so I get more of other work done.
Would you like a lot of projects?
Yeah, projects and then,
Honey-do list?
Planning, yeah, that, but planning, like the list that we're going to talk about is, my day job is to be a physician. My evening job is to mold healthcare into something useful.
What you're hoping that you're right, because we want leaders in life that other people look at and go, okay, maybe I need to do more of this. And you're hoping that more doctors will eventually do what you're doing at Innovare. We're going to talk, first of all, when did you launch Innovare? How long ago has it been now?
Well, it's a renaming of my practice, which started in '84.
Okay.
I named it Innovare when I left the medical group that I helped found ESSA Health in 2010.
Okay.
We had a merger of a whole bunch of practices, and our pact with each other is we could bring our practice in, but we could also take it out. So and those mergers happened in spades in 1996. So in 2010, I separated.
And why the name Innovare?
Because by then I'd done some innovating, and truthfully, when we had the big merger to be 65 of us, we hired a consultant to think up a good name, and he came up with ESSA, E-S-S-E, which is Latin for life, existence, being.
Oh, okay.
And he said it's nobody knows what it is except
Right.
for Latin scholars, or so he called it an empty vessel, right? He also made a cultural change in the company out of it. We did a lot of surveying and meetings and chatting about it. But the lesson was a Latin word, a Latin root was unrecognizable, and you could build your name into it. So it turns out that Innovare is the Romans pronounced it differently, I'm sure, but it's Latin for innovate.
Okay. And many times, by the way, when we're typing it, it wants us to put innovate, and we're like, no, R.
Yeah,
Get rid of the T.
Innovare.
So Innovare Health Advocates and our Ask the Doctor segment. We're going to go a little bit longer with Dr. Willey today since Sarah Franco is off, but it was just like last week. Sarah was on with us longer because Dr. Willey was off. So we're going to go deep into this, and I'll look at some comments. Also, if you have any questions for Dr. Willey, you can let me know. Let's start with this. So when we talk about the corporatization of medicine, people are going to hear that and say, well, what does that mean, Dr. Willey? So what does that mean, Dr. Willey?
That means your doctor works for a big organization and has a whole bunch of rules and pressures that aren't you, right? That aren't you.
And we're looking at the fact that, you know, one of the things I think if you hear that, you're thinking, oh, right, the government's controlling. These big corporations are controlling. They're out for money. You know, I was looking at stuff last night, and it really just reminded me of going into a restaurant, and you always feel like, why am I being rushed by certain ones that want to turn the tables and get me in and out? Same kind of a thing has happened in some medical practices where it is seeing as many patients as they possibly can, right?
I think it's the majority circumstance now. Go fast. Everywhere I go, people... Yeah, I got my 5 minutes, and if you've got if you're healthy and you're just tagging for your checkups and paying attention to what screening is appropriate for your age, sex, and life, maybe it doesn't matter. But if you've got real medical problems, you need to spend some time with a thinking doctor, and it's rare anymore. It's just rare.
And that's so unfortunate as you're all hearing this, because think about that. If someone's rushing you through, think about the things that can be missed. I mean, that's dangerous with our health.
Yeah. And, it's, we've said it before, but what a person feels inside, their physical feelings, not to mention their psychological perspective, it's difficult to express and difficult to get the other person who's not in your body feeling it to understand what that's about.
Right.
It takes time.
So let's run down this. I mean, just to kind of give some background, this is actually from an article back in August, and this is from a site called Physicians Anonymous, which I like this because it reminded me of what I experienced 25 and 30 years ago with every doctor I used to interview when I was doing this in the Spotlight segment. 30-minute long segments. It was beautiful topics, but it was the show after the show that I wish we could have recorded when the doctors all were like, anonymously, I'm going to tell you this. I mean, I heard some of these things back then, but it talks about the corporatization of medicine in the last few decades has transformed the way medical practices and hospitals operate. As healthcare in many countries evolves into a profit-driven industry, physicians are facing increasing pressures to prioritize efficiency, productivity, and financial outcomes over your care, the patient care, and personal well-being. And what it's saying is it causes unhappy, burned out, not just physicians, but the nurses and everybody through that. You agree with this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just a kid, right? Middle age, said this before. Middle age starts at 75, old age at 95. All of my peers, my age, most of my colleagues who formed an Essence with me have retired. Doctors used to work till they're 75 or 80. You had to drag them off the platform.
And they're retiring about what ages now?
Oh, in their 60s. They're retiring early, 60s, yeah. Certainly 65, but...
Because they've been burned out way before that?
Out. It's so frustrating. They've taken all the fun out of it, you know. I still have fun because I've carved this niche.
Right.
Because I can go slow and get it right. And, I've had to be, quite an entrepreneur to get it done.
Absolutely.
And I look back over my shoulder and holy smokes, how did that happen, Because I got a bunch of internists and a small gaggle of pediatricians as well to take big risk, build a medical group, oppose the hospital systems in town that were always wanting to nip at us, because they want to control, and then went to battle royale with United Healthcare, but it worked because it's good healthcare, it's good for people. The doctors appreciated that they got to slow down and get it right.
Yeah, I mean, let's just liken this, because I remember the first time that I came to you, and Dr. Willey, by the way, and just, again, being transparent, always real with you. Dr. Willey is my doctor. He is my husband's doctor. My mom wanted to go to him as well, but she's out in Lake St. Louis, and they don't want her traveling very far. So, and she wanted to see you and not your partner. But, I mean, that's how it is sometimes.
She should try Dr. Fernando.
Well, if you're watching, Mom, I've told her that.
He's a real young doctor. He's I don't want to sound too
But he's
cocky,
learning from you,
Yeah, he's Chuck Jr. He's delighted.
which is the next generation, right?
He didn't get to behave the way I do as a physician before he came to us.
Right.
But he appreciates it immeasurably.
What did he say, by the way, from where he came from to where he is now, the biggest change?
Well, he was in a rat race. Had to go fast. He was a hospitalist,
Okay.
right? And so he'd tune the people up, and they'd go out and nobody would take care of them. They'd come right back. Frustrating. Well, wait a minute, we just fixed this. Who's paying attention to these complicated medical problems when you go out?
Right.
No one often. They may have a doctor, but, finger in the ear. Going too fast to pay attention to 6 complicated medical problems in this, most cases, senior citizens.
And again, as
So
Dr.
he's
Willey-
delighted. Now he gets to do the hospital work
Yep.
and get a relationship with the patient. And he's a great kid. He's got a lot of personality, and people like him immediately.
And he's at your West location, right?
Yeah, he's in our Darden Prairie office,
Yep.
so that's right near your mother. So
All right, Mom and everybody else in St. Charles County. So again, if you are not familiar, if this is your first time, and I know there's a ton of people that I met this past weekend at the retreat that are going to be new viewers, all of you, this is Dr. Charles Willey, Innovare Health Advocates, and very, very different in the way they operate. InnovareHealth.com, so that you can have someone truly take care of you. Because I think it's extremely scary to think that you've got doctors and nurses and LPNs and RNs and nurse practitioners feeling like they have to rush you through and feeling like you're just a number. And I know that frustrates a lot of you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to run through some of this. Just as much as I preach the work-life balance, that's one of the top things that is talked about with regards to the corporatization of medicine, that doctors don't feel like they have that anymore. They don't get to recharge. He did just get to, which is good, but he is afforded that opportunity because of how innovative he has been. So if you have any questions for Dr. Willey or any comments about how you are being treated and you don't want that any longer, we'll look at your comments when we return. We need women to lift women up.
Let's do that.
Being on Monica's show, it was like one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Monica's very real, and she really cares about people.
She's changing lives.
Changing lives.
I think this is just really what people want to see.
Giving back so much to the community, and I really appreciate it.
Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with her viewers and her listeners.
Made the interview process like talking to a friend.
Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a few weeks.
Hey! You're close!
Monica. Whoa.
So go out in this world and be anything you want to be. But before you do that, first, be kind.
Let's go. That's right. We have Dr. Charles Willey in with us in our Medical Monday Ask the Doctor segment. It is 7:33, and we're talking about a really powerful subject today. It has to do with the corporatization of medicine. So let me run through some of this. We've got a list that Dr. Willey has provided for me, but something that I saw that was just carrying over in every article that I was looking at were these kind of top 5 things. The impact of corporatization on physicians. 1, the loss of autonomy and control.
it's really important that we call them patients. I call them customers because it's of higher respect. But when the person is with you, you got to focus on that. That's primal, and you got to figure out. What I've done is figured out how to make the economic support what I need to do with the patient, right? And everywhere else it's counter. My incentives are aligned. Hospitals get paid if people are sick. If people are not sick and they don't come, hospitals are struggling. And unfortunately, they've over the years, there's some external pressures to try to make it better, but they still go too fast. And if people stay sick, that's okay. They don't think that. These are all good people.
Right.
People in healthcare all mean well, but they're put together in organizations that take them astray. And often many places, hospitals used to be run by doctors and nurses, and now they're run by, God love them, we call them suits.
Yeah, well, I get that.
But
yes.
But if they don't come down and do the work, it It was an American consultant in the 70s that went to Japan and told Japan, making junk cars, to let the guy on the assembly line stop the line and fix the problem. And then their cars came out with high quality, and they took over the market for a while.
Because
right?
they're on the front lines.
Really important in healthcare that
Yeah.
people running the business understand what we're doing.
Isn't this an aha moment for all of you? I want you to see yourself in what we're talking about. You think of the business you're in, and you're getting this chill because you're like, yes, that's what I deal with, right? Losing control when the doctor should be in control, but is sitting here thinking, is the time clicking away and I'm supposed to be getting to the next patient, because the suits, the private practices are controlling us.
They get bonuses for doing,
Yes.
bonused on, I've heard doctors say, oh, I'm in the bonus round at the end of the month. That's how many people they've tagged, right? And if they don't, then they'll get dinged for not seeing enough patients, And I know many people who've, quit that line because they just couldn't, their conscience wouldn't let them
Well, and
go
some of the
so
stuff,
fast and not get it right.
some of the stuff I saw also had to do with not just seeing as many patients, but prescribing more, ordering more tests, just because they're looking for more and more money. Not the doctors, the up here.
Yeah, the organization.
Yes.
That's right.
Number 2, overemphasis on productivity and efficiency.
Productivity and efficiency aren't in themselves bad. It's just you just got to be flexible. You have to be able to be flexible. Go faster when you can. Be efficient. This is my 40th year, and back then, we could find a great surgeon, but we couldn't always find a great surgeon who was a nice person.
Why?
Why? Oh, I don't know. They were too busy, too burned out. I don't know, going really fast. But the best of them, if you could find a surgeon who was a nice person, they could get it done quickly. They'd be in a person's presence in 3 to 5 minutes. The person would feel fully engaged and heard, and the diagnosis made. But that's an art that's rare anymore. And back then, in the beginning, when I was paid chits, fee for service, and Medicare has been underpaying intellectual physicians. They've paid for gadgetry forever in spades. Paid for surgeries. Now what they pay surgeons has come way down as well, relative. But I used to back then say I could. And this is if somebody needed to cry, I could get that to happen in 5 minutes and have them feeling better about it in a solution in 10 or 15. I don't have to go that fast anymore.
Right.
And but it was pretty effective even though I had to go fast, but it's still a rare skill that took time to develop.
Well, you said what I think is the most important thing, and is that as a patient or a customer or a friend, because it's what they become, that they want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard, especially when they're scared. They're walking into a doctor and they're scared of the things.
They're scared out of their minds.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is for you to calm them. But you can't calm them when you are burnt out, which is what's happening.
And the best way to calm them is to help them really understand what's happening in their body. Help the physiology, the anatomy, the biology of it all.
Well, and you gave me a list of the corporatization and governmentalization of healthcare that mirror a lot of this. I was going through these top 5. The third one, and Dr. Willey's talking about, it's not just him, but think about every single level of that office that takes care of you. Administrative burdens and electronic paperwork, taking up so much of your time that's where a lot of the burnout's coming from.
Absolutely. So the electronic medical record, electronics in healthcare, it's at the same time wonderful and terrible. But one of my quips people might relate to is, in every other industry, information technology has liberated librarians and secretaries to a higher calling, right?
Yep.
But in healthcare, it's turned doctors and nurses into librarians and secretaries.
Sure.
The electronic record, God love my old friend, shook his hand, tried to get him to hire me to fix healthcare, but he didn't. George W. Bush, his administration, bribed American healthcare to come to electronics faster. Okay? So when the government gets involved, what do they do? So they put out, a whole bunch of money. Congress passes a bill, he signs it, a whole bunch of money. And where does it go? It goes to the big organizations. and then innovation stops. So there's 2 or 3 big electronic medical records, and permission to speak South County, they all suck. They all suck. They're all lousy, old, unimaginative software invented by people who don't do the work. Click, 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 type, click, click. Even if you dictate, it still, it just doesn't, it's a billing system. It serves the hospital and the bureaucracy, but it doesn't serve those of us doing the job. It's really maddening.
I love that you're speaking so candidly. I mean, this is what this show is all about. And for those of you that might be new to the show, this is what we need more of. I mean, this is a doctor that's been in the industry for over 40 years. And again, why did he come up with the Innovare Health Advocates? Why is he so big into Essence? Because he has seen firsthand what doesn't serve you and how it needs to change. Financial pressures we've talked about already. And then reduced sense of purpose, I think, is a really powerful one. It's really, you've got all these young physicians getting into it, hearing maybe what their fathers, because many times it's like, oh, my father, my grandpa was a doctor. I want to get into the industry. And they hear how amazing it was back then, and now it's kind of a shell of itself. And they're like, wow, that's, and the grandpas hear it and say, that's not how it was in my time.
Yeah, so what's missing is the relationship.
Yes.
They're going so fast. They have such a volume. They don't get a relationship. They don't really get to know the people. The people are frustrated. I gave you a graph.
Yeah. I think we have that.
People are frustrated.
There you go.
There you go. So that's graph since 2002, Americans' satisfaction with healthcare, 60%. Would you go to a restaurant that you were 60% satisfied? Would you even buy gas from a gas station that was that bad?
No.
This is healthcare. This is your life, your health.
Exactly.
That's really bad, right? That's the background. So it's awful. So they don't have a relationship. So that's the purpose in it, the human interaction, the human connection. And they're losing it because it's so volumized. It's so, yeah.
Well, and let's ask this. I'm going to take a break, and I want you to think about this question for a second, because if I was the person that's watching this, as all of you are, I'd be hearing this and be afraid of what's to come. Dollars that are being taken away. He just said the surgeons are not making as much anymore. Doctors aren't making as much anymore. You've got all these high-powered suits that are up here that are taking the money. Medicare dollars are coming away. Again, it's the government side that's scary. So I want you to honestly answer, are you afraid of what's coming in healthcare? And then for all of you, we'll turn that over to you as well. More with Dr. Charles Willey with Innovare Health Advocates when we return.
Think about this. When's the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovare Health Advocates, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, their care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, and even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible and they lead your care in and out of the hospital. In fact, Dr. Charles Willey offers his cell phone number to his patients to ensure they can intervene early in your illness. They can provide care above and beyond, offering lab, x-ray, echocardiogram, and other treatments in their office. Innovare Health Advocates with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out, innovarehealth.com.
Welcome back. It is 7:44, the Real Monica Adams Show, and I always want to turn it over to you. Again, questions you may have, comments that you may have. And Kathy said, I have noticed, Doctor, more nurse practitioners are seeing patients. We don't see the doctor any longer. Again, not to knock a nurse practitioner, because I know you love the ones that you have, but I remember back when a friend of mine was an RN, and she said that she was scared back then because she saw more and more LPNs doing the work of RNs. Now you've got patients saying, well, I don't even see my doctor. If I do, it's like for a minute or two, and I see more of a nurse practitioner. Is this our future?
I'm afraid it is. And it could have been great, but it's come out in a bad way. Okay. And by the way, so you're hearing a lot of negativity here, but it's fact about the industry. Your particular doctor may get relationship and do this well in spite of all that. because the great majority of people in healthcare went into it for the right reason, and they mean well.
Sure.
Some of them have the moxie or the circumstance or the finesse to do a good job anyway, right? But many of them don't. So they don't know how to lead, and it's a quagmire. If I worked for a hospital, I'd be fired because I'd speak up too much. But so the nurse practitioner phenomenon is wonderful the way I do it. Now, I sound pretty cocky, I suppose, but I don't hire a nurse practitioner who's not been an ICU nurse for 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. The intensive care unit selects for thinkers, doers. Okay. In the middle of the night, even now, where they have intensivists. When I was a kid, we managed our patients in the ICU as well. It's a good thing that there are intensivists. I go to the ICU and help. But in the middle of the night, the phone call comes, and who's assessing the patient? The sickest people in the hospital is the nurse.
Right.
Right? So she's a thinker, she's a teacher. She calls the doctor up and tells him what to do. Oh, not quite. Not quite.
Hey, he said it.
Not quite, but
you collaborate as a team.
It is, but
Yes.
it's called manage up. She's gathering information, and if she tells me something, she's got something in mind. The best of them will say, But what about this?
Right.
Right. They'll debate me a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So that selects for thinkers and doers, but they're letting, God love these kids, but they're letting them go get an RN, which is now online. It used to be humans working together to get a degree. Now it's mostly online, an RN online, and go right into nurse practitioner school, and they have no useful experience. So they're going to learn on the job, and we all learn on the job, and I learn every day. But
Every day is an education for all of us.
It's to release people into healthcare, that's dangerous. That inexperience is dangerous. Plus, they're depriving hospitals of some of the best nurses that would otherwise go be nurses.
Yes.
And if I were king, I would say you can't be a nurse practitioner unless you work in the hospital for 5 years, and you better pick a niche. Like if you want to go serve the neurosurgeon, well, go work with neurosurgery as a nurse for 5 years and then come out. Because
It all makes sense.
Because how did I become a doctor? I went to college, and then I went to medical school, half of which was clinical back then. I think it's pretty much the same. It might be blended. But then I did an internship, which is an apprenticeship for 3 years,
Sure.
right? So I was 29 years old before they called me a doctor, and I was
Right.
And by then, I was humble enough to know what I didn't know, and always learned and learned and learned. But
You have to do the work. I think this is what frustrates about our world in general. I felt the same way, Dr. Willey, and I look at my industry that I just walked away from and thought, I remember getting into the business right out of college and going, I can't wait to try to look at doing the news and being an anchor and being the trusted source. But you had to have 5 years. And we were all like, well, how do we get that if someone's not giving us a chance? But you had to have 5 years. Now it's out of college. You want to sit behind the desk? Go ahead. You don't even know the life. You're not even saying words that even belong in the English language. And that's what gets us frustrated about the news.
Yeah.
Well, look, he's saying the exact same thing
Yeah.
is happening in medicine. I mentioned earlier, promoting work-life balance, creating supportive work environments, physician advocacy, and collective action. These are the ways that we address physician burnout in a corporatized environment.
Yeah. But I think the most important thing about work-life balance is to be effective and useful in your job. If you're satisfied, you can work your hind end off, as
you
long
feel
as
fulfilled.
if it's useful. You've not been frustrated by a bunch of stupid, and you can get your job done. You can go home feeling good
Right.
about it, even if you work 34 hours a day.
Crystal Gale just said, I feel like Dr. Willey is going to have a ton of new patient requests. That's what he wants. I think so, too. A lot of people are liking that comment. Innovare Health Advocates. Let's see. I went to my new gastrologist, and the first thing the NP said to me, I'm here and not to rush through the appointment. She spent 35 minutes with me. I was impressed with her and their entire group.
Good. So again, I'm talking in generality of what's happened too often in healthcare,
Right.
but
There are
there
some
will
good
be
ones.
good people, good programs that are getting it right, and it's like I said in the ICU, the nurses, the doctors, it's a team sport. There's a captain of the ship, There's doctors with more experience and knowledge, but the nurses are on the firing line, and then that's a blend. So if the gastroenterologist, and by the way, this is not to say the doctors are impoverished, but they're having to go so fast to maintain an income that supports their business,
Sure.
and honors the years that they went to school. So it can happen well still, and it does. And again, most they're all good people. They all mean well. Some of them are in circumstance that just doesn't support what I get to do.
Well, and you wouldn't, Dr. Willey said earlier, and I know people are tuning in every second, tuning in and out, having to get to work, coming back to the show, but he's mentioned why you wouldn't get into the healthcare field if you genuinely didn't want to take care of people. I mean, that's what the whole industry is about. But then a lot of them are getting in and saying, this is one I signed up for. Like, this is not what I expected.
And there are far easier ways to make money.
Yeah. Let's see. So Lindsay Egan, good morning to you. I said I would give shouts out. That's a woman that I just met this past weekend at the retreat. Dr. Willey was asking me about the retreat. I got to tell you more about this forest bathing. This is how actually, we need a retreat for doctors to calm down and get back and feel refreshed.
Well, you know
again.
that my best vacation, I'd say if I'm not communing with the bears, I'm not on vacation. I go to camping in Kodiak Island.
You would like it.
I guess that's forest bathing.
Yeah, of course it is. You're out in nature.
And the water is brutal cold, but I still jump in it.
I didn't do. We were actually, some people were supposed to do those cold plunges, and I don't think anybody jumped in. Rose has a good thing, and I think a lot of you may have experienced this. So she says, "Good morning, Doc. I once had a doctor who, as I asked him questions, was walking backwards towards the door. He obviously had a full schedule. I never went back to him. Like literally, you almost feel like you're bothering them. Hey, what's the problem you're having? Okay, but
Right.
I gotta go.
Right.
I mean, right? You don't feel heard, as you mentioned earlier. You want to be heard.
Yeah, it's a rare doc who can get all that done in 3 minutes. But I've known some in the distant past. Yeah.
So we have some rundown before we wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. So this is the corporatization and governmentalization of healthcare.
So it's just an explanation of how it happened. So, people heard the stories and maybe saw TV programs of, you see the doctor and give him a chicken. So what about that? It's a relationship, one-on-one. It's your neighbor. You know them, right?
Okay.
The patient felt some responsibility. They didn't have any money, so they gave him a chicken.
Okay.
And
we saw that. I'm like, a chicken for a checkup? How long ago was that?
Yeah, a long time ago.
But I understand that, the personalization.
People bring me donuts and things as a bonus.
Sure they do.
Yeah. And so then in World War II, many men went off to war, and the women were working in the factories. And then the president at the time implemented a wage freeze. Companies couldn't pay more to get compete for the employees.
Right.
So they invented health insurance as a benefit. That's where it came from. Okay, and insurance, what's that? Now it used to be two people. Now it's three parties.
Yes.
And when it was all small and local, when insurance companies were local, you could go talk to them, and I did in the 90s. I negotiated with health plans, but then they all became corporatized and out of town and egregious, and so then I had to go do battle with them instead. And the same thing with hospitals and the government. Lyndon Johnson said when he signed the bill, Medicare, we will never affect wage and price in healthcare. He was lying through his teeth. He was a racist lying through his teeth, because immediately they started affecting.
That was the first thing they jumped on.
Yeah, and so when you got to solve the problem from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no 100% solution. One size fits all in healthcare. Everything is different. I mean, if you had a twin sister sitting here, and you both had a headache, I got to figure out what's the difference. It's not going to be the same.
Right. Our DNA is different.
So the further away from the healthcare transaction, me and you're the customer, I'm the doctor, the worse the problem is likely to be, because it's a 100% solution for the 1% problem.
Or less than.
Okay, so there's 100 of us, and somebody over here has got a problem, but we have to all do the same thing because that's the solution for them. That's crazy. That's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So then pretty quickly more people are doing stuff because of a rule than because of what's needed.
Just looking like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the defense is, Yeah, we've talked about that.
number
But
five.
that's what drove me to found Essence Healthcare. Okay, so that's how it works. And the money talks. So whoever's in charge of the money wins, right? And so Essence put us. It's a contract. We had to form a Missouri insurance company to get a contract with Medicare for the funds flow to come to Essence, and then we could manage it. And there was a glorious moment when I was the chief executive of Essence, the insurance company, and the president of the medical group. I got to make rules on both sides of the fence, and I made them just right for both.
Because again, if you're just tuning in, you haven't realized that he saw all these problems and was the innovative thinker to say, how can we solve this? I'm just going to have to come up with it.
All the while, I was still seeing patients every day.
Right. Let's look at number 6 and 7 on there. So 6, this driving insurance co-mergers and saying that there are only a handful left and they are heartless giants.
United Healthcare, Humana, evil empires, to borrow a phrase from, again, my old friend George W., evil empires in the healthcare axis of evil. They are heartless. They are heartless, yeah.
And making your neighborhood hospital a regional heartless giant.
So they're big, And again, the people in the hospitals mean well. They try hard. And I'm on staff at every hospital cartel in town. Some of them let us alone. They figured out how to operate well, BJC, and leave us, to support it. But others, they're just merciless, They're just merciless.
And then let's skip down to 9. There are the lawyers inventing blame for unavoidable medical misfortune.
Yeah, there is malpractice, but usually very little of it, and they're just we've done a little driving lately, and in some towns, St. Louis, Georgia's hideous for the billboards are all about lawyers. Lawyers chasing. Lawyers just preying upon misfortune, whether it's an auto accident or, somebody gets an illness through no fault of anybody. It just happens. They're turning that into. They take that as leverage, and so it's just another adverse pressure that makes. Did you see my? So what is it? Makes people afraid, healthcare people afraid, indecisive, and it becomes healthcare by committee. If you get into a hospital, some of these places, you'll feel like it's a committee. I was called to rescue somebody again, who's in a hospital. Another family member of the Donovans, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They said, Dr. Willey, this is not working. Can you come and help us?
And then he does. And see, then that goes back to why he got into the industry, even though he's seen it change so much in 4 decades. It goes back to that. That's why he founded Essence. That's when he and I met forever ago. Again, it's local. We all want to support local. Helps you afford care. Helps doctors care for you. And the only insurance company that pays him to achieve and maintain your health and actually lets him slow it down and get it right. Can I ask this before we wrap up? Is this why we see so many physicians, because they're so frustrated, turning into concierge medicine?
It's absolutely what concierge medicine is about, and that's if I didn't have Essence, I'd be I was going to say if I didn't have Essence, I'd be a concierge doc, but my clientele couldn't afford a concierge.
A lot
doc.
of people can't.
They're charging $1,800 a year per person as an entry fee. They'll charge it per month, but. So it's a noble endeavor by these doctors to try to slow down and get it right. Now, if you're paying that, you should, they'll pledge to give you their cell phone. I do. They'll pledge to see you anytime you need it. They should. They'll pledge to come to your homes. They should, and they should darn well come and be your attending physician at the hospital. But most of them don't, because that's when you really need them. Right. Now, I'm an internist, and I take care of people who have medical problems, right? So younger, healthier people, when they're shopping insurance, for instance, they may not, they'll shop all the benefit, right? Well, wait a minute. What you really want, it's insurance, right? When you need it, it's got to be there for you, and it's got to provide a medical team who can get your job done. So if you buy an insurance plan because of all the shiny benefits by the evil empires, And Essence's benefits are still the best in town. You know, Aetna's advertised golf clubs. Aetna's Medicare Advantage plan. Yeah, if you join Aetna, you can get a set of golf clubs.
If you call right now, we'll add in this.
Yeah. Now, is that nuts or what? I guess they're stretching the health and wellness benefit.
I think their
by golf
mindset's
clubs.
wrong a little bit. Stephanie said to thank you, and that she has ESSA Health, and she's on Essence, and she loves it.
Well, good. Yeah, ESSA is still a bastion of doctors who get it right.
Okay. And I think a lot of people hear this and say, oh, so this does sound like concierge, but he's not charging you the exorbitant money that so many do in the industry, but that they had to go through.
Yeah.
Diane said she makes a list of all of her questions before she sees the doctor and goes through them. I scribble notes as I get answers. Then as I have new questions arise, I ask those. Normally I get a printout of my visit when I leave, but sometimes not all the information's on it. I always go to my husband's appointments to do the same because he doesn't like to ask questions. I highly recommend that women go with their husbands, boyfriends, etc., because we hear things that they don't.
Yeah, that's superb.
Yes.
To be organized about what you want, that helps me.
Yep.
Yeah, and let's see, not a day goes by I don't thank God for daughters and wives.
I know.
You know, two heads are
And
better than one.
daughter-in-laws. My sister-in-law is amazing with my mom.
Two heads are better than one.
It is.
And you know, it's intimidating. Somebody did the research project a long time ago that patients forget half of what we teach them by the time they get to their automobile. And they forget another half, so 75% by the time they get home. So having
I would recommend
questions,
recording.
taking notes, record it if you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if a doctor's saying something you're not really understanding and you're like, I need to go back and absorb this. I've done that before where I'm like, here, Mom, he's talking about this. Here, I'm going to record it, and then you can go back and we can decipher this.
Yeah, or, you know, people ask me for clarification. I'm always clarifying and sharpen my ability to help people understand. I use metaphors a lot.
Yep. And humor, because we always need to laugh.
That's right.
Right? Okay, we're going to wrap up the show. We do have an announcement to make, by the way, which I hate making. But you know what? This is what we're talking about, the way things happen and money's pulled away and restructuring of things. So we're going to have two announcements. One, it's breaking news about Dr. Willey, and then the other is our devotional. So what are we feeling today in our devotional? Anxiety, fear, depression, shame, overeating, anger. What do you think?
How about anxiety?
Anxiety? A lot of people. I think there's a lot of fear and anxiety in this world because it seems so many guests pick that one.
Yeah, energy without activity, uncertainty.
Great. So we're on day 28 of 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety, and this one's called Handrails. We will do that as we wrap up the show when we return.
Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online invitahealthandwellness.com.
Welcome back, and let's just talk about Dr. Sarah. She'll be back with us next Monday, and I did notice that Terry wrote in and said, oh, I saw that Sarah was listening while she was in the car and listening from the road, and she wanted to thank her because she went in for a consultation and absolutely fell in love with her, as I thought you would. Went for a consultation for her daughter and said, I appreciate the knowledge and the guidance. We plan to touch base with you in a few weeks. Thanks again. Absolutely. So she'll be back on with us next Monday. Before we do our 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety, we have to make this announcement. So let me bring Dr. Willey back into it. And I hate saying this, but this is our last show together for now. Maybe we always seem to circulate back together every few years.
Yeah.
So who knows? He could come back. But this is our final show because, again, so much is changing in the healthcare industry and restructuring of funds, et cetera, that we couldn't continue on. So I hate to tell you that we're not going to have him next week and in the weeks to come.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And but, yeah, the government's throwing us a big curveball, and I got to hunker down and figure out how to get through it. So.
Right. We're going to miss you.
Yeah.
But
I'm always available.
Yes, and so we still, as people ask me, and that's what I mentioned to him, as you ask me in the coming weeks, I will continue to tell you, you got to look into Innovare because this is what you want. You want someone to slow down, to get it right, and to actually have you be heard. So that's very important. So remember Innovare Health. For all of you, as you're frustrated with your own physicians, please pass this show along and please send people his way because maybe that will bring him back in the future. If not, I can guarantee you at some point I'll get a phone call. I'll say, oh, Dr. Willey, oh, now what are we going to do together?
Yeah.
Because that's how it's been in the last several years. All right, let's do this. Day 28, handrails. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. When we're nervous about a situation, it would be helpful if there were handrails to grab on to. Yeah, we want a little help with our balance sometimes, right? Think of those reasons. If you have a fear of heights, you definitely would want to know that there's a railing that will prevent you from going over the edge. We have similar feelings about the challenges in our lives that do not come with instructions. We need help and be willing to ask for that. So where do you look for help when fear and worry want to take command of the situation? They want to be in the driver's seat and take you away from your desired destination. You know, it's in times like these we need to reach and grasp for God's hand. How do we do that when we can't actually physically touch his hand? Because people are looking for the tangible aspect. By prayer, that's how you do it. Reading the Bible, reaching out to someone who will help you walk through the challenging times. I saw a lot of that at the retreat this past weekend. People just wanting connection, wanting to know that there's a safety net there. God's faithful and will provide what you need, whatever the situation. But it's your trust in him that begins before times of trial as you build your relationship with God. Then when times of trial come, then you recognize his provision. God can be trusted no matter what we face. We can be confident in that promise. John Maxwell said, we choose what attitudes we have right now, and it's a continuing choice. Carrie ten Boom said, never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. And think about this. Hope is called the anchor of the soul. That's in Hebrews 6:19, because it gives stability to the Christian life. But hope is not simply a wish. I wish that such and such would take place. Rather, it's that which latches on to the certainty of the promises of the future that God has made. So here's our closing prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for your faithful help in many times of need. I know I can trust you, and I can rest in your promises. Amen to that.
Amen.
We all need that. Well, sir, it's been an honor. I'm going to miss you. But again, I will continue to send people on your way so that they can get the kind of care that they deserve.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And again, if I can help, just give me a shout.
I will. And before we wrap up, I want to let you know Michelle has it ready for you on the website. So a lot of you have asked if we're doing another Cultivating a Vision. We are. I talked a little bit about vision this past weekend at the retreat, but this is breaking it down. How do you do those vision boards? How do you draw things to yourself? How do you manifest things? How do you ever reach the goals and the dreams you have for yourself? Cultivating Your Vision with myself, and that's Kasia Sitar's right above me. She's in Canada. It's 2 coaches in 1. April 3rd is the next one. It will be 6 to 7:30 Central Time. And right now, $30. We'll keep it that price until March 15th, and then prices will go up. And then near the end, prices go up again. So why do we do that? So that you see the importance and the value in yourself. You do it. And then, yes, sometimes when people, and think about buying tickets for a concert, right? They go up sometimes. Day of, you walk into a place, they're higher. They asked you to be on the ball, be organized, and see the value in yourself. So Cultivating Your Vision, April 3rd, 6 to 7:30. Purchase your tickets today. And if you have anybody under the age of 18, I'd like to welcome them for absolutely free because we want to address and reach the kids at an early age. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And to those of you that were tuning in for the very first time, all of you who are organically finding us, or all of you beautiful women that I met at the retreat this past week, and I'm seeing some of you on this morning, welcome aboard. What a ride it's going to be together. And remember, we talked about it this past weekend at the retreat, and I've been talking about it since we launched the show a year ago this past Friday. So we had our big celebration, our anniversary celebration. Go out, become a doctor, become a news anchor, become a host. Affect the world in some large scale. You can do it. Believe in yourself. But the greatest thing that you can do is show kindness to another human being. Do that. Be kind. God bless you all.